Right, welcome to the Radio Lollipop. We're not going to call it a podcast, it's just a kind of video we do for our Facebook page for information. Obviously, the school's going back. We have had a lot of questions from Glasgow City Council people and South Lanarkshire Council people, and today we have the Executive Director, Tony McDaid. He's going to be joining us just shortly and answering some questions that we're going to ask him. But obviously we've had huge changes today, which Tony will go on and explain once he's introduced himself, which totally changes the whole purpose of this interview. It makes it very exciting because all the preempted questions Tony had are now going to be just fired at him without being preempted. Tony, how are you?
I'm good, Andy. With the Deputy First Minister's announcement today obviously changes things for us, but I'm delighted to be here, and hopefully we can answer as many questions as possible. Trying to get our young people back to school is the thing we want to do.
I visions of you just being locked in a room just now, just getting that information and crying and screaming and your head in a desk and no one to come back out. So I thought I'll be lucky to get Tony on here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Tony.
Thank you very much. A bit about myself. I'm a teacher to trade. I'm a PE teacher. I've been in South Lanarkshire Council for just about 25 years, where I started as a head of PE department in Cathkin High School, which I love dearly, and I was a deputy head teacher there as well. I also then moved into East Kilbride to be head teacher of Calderglen High School. I did a merger of Hunter High and Claremont High and was there for just over 7.5 years. Then moved into the centre here in Hamilton to the council offices. I was head of the education service, the part of the school service, and then I took over as Executive Director of Education just in the beginning of 2017. So South Lanarkshire probably cuts right through me in terms of the education of the children and young people in South Lanarkshire, and indeed I now see many of our teachers are probably some of the young people that I've taught, so that's probably how long I've been around.
Scary. I actually remember you in Cathkin High. You were very driven at the time. I think was it Marion Alpha, I think, was the head teacher at the time.
It was Mary, yeah, that's right, yeah.
They're very driven at the time, because I think she was kind of winding down to retire, I think, at the time, wasn't she? So
yeah, I don't know if ever as a head teacher you get the chance to wind down, I think, by the nature of the job, but you're right, she was certainly at the end of her career, and for that point for me, I was the deputy within the school. But as I say, I remember Zoe and Scott well and loved the young people within the school. I thought it was a superb school, and it just shows you what you can do with young people. They go on, you give them an opportunity, and they go on and they flourish and thrive.
Fantastic. Yeah, Catherine was great for that. Fantastic. Right, we're going to go on to these questions. Right, I've been looking through them to see what's still relevant. The social distancing one that we asked is kind of going now if they're going to be doing this new plan. Obviously, if we go to the blended kind of system again, if the R rate goes up, hopefully it won't, then we maybe have to chat with you again before terms just to see if there's anything else that we can look at. The extra cleaning is possibly still relevant, because with this I think we're all learning lessons about hand hygiene and health and hygiene things. Have you got any plans to kind of increase the cleaning frequencies in the school?
We do. We work very closely with our community and enterprise team. Those are the members of staff that get responsibility for our cleaners and our janitors. And we've certainly increased our cleaning specification. There's some very good advice from NHS and Forum about non-NHS establishments. And we've worked very closely with our professional associations, our unions, our schools, just to make sure that as a reassurance. So, for example, extra touch point cleaning during the day, where in our big schools having an extra a day cleaner in, just to reassure people. And obviously we also use something called an electrostatic spray, which is really good for fighting virus and bacteria, and they will put that on periodically. It doesn't need to go on every day, but it lasts for quite a period of time. So we've spent a long time trying to work with that. We also work with our environmental health team and with Public Health Lanarkshire, and they've helped us shape our advice and guidance. So cleaning is important, and I think it's not just about reassurance. I think there's some very practical things that we can do just to make life a bit easier for all of our community and make sure it's as safe as possible.
Will that then, do you think, pass into kind of lesson plan for the younger children with the hand hygiene? Because obviously that's not been a huge part of the school curriculum before, but I think as we've seen, I think for my daughter, in fact, I went and got a black light and the kind of cream stuff to show her class just before lockdown, and they were absolutely amazed at this. We do this in the hospital as a standard, as a training issue, with the black light, and you put it on and then you try and wash your hands and you see all the germs still on it. And the kids love that. Will that be something that's possibly going to be increased for the smaller children?
Yeah, that's a great example. We do a bit of that already, but there's much more focus will be about it, about that 20 seconds, about how you wash your hands, about doing it almost as a game-like activity for certainly our younger children and young people. We're really lucky in our school buildings in South Lanarkshire. They're all new.
Yeah.
So ultimately, within the past 10 years or so, we have new buildings. Every single classroom in our primary school estate has a sink in it. So that we don't then need to worry about queuing up in a toilet area. Those young people, I've been in some of those classrooms myself, seen how they've been set up. And just as you describe, it'll be set up in a child-friendly way, just making sure that there's a routine. Our children and young people like routine, and that will be built into the routine of changeovers. They're out in the interval time, at playtime, or at lunchtime. There'll be wash your hands before you move on to the next thing.
Fantastic. And also the benefit these kids are going to have, they're going to know that you use toilet rolls now, because before this all happened, nobody used toilet rolls, seemingly. Everybody started buying them. So these kids will be brought up in the toilet roll era, which is good to hear, isn't it? Unbelievable. I was on with Jason Leach last week, and he says that's whenever there's a crisis in the world, war or anything, everybody buys up toilet rolls. It's seemingly a psychological thing that people do everywhere in the world.
I didn't know that, but you can certainly see that that's happened, can you?
No, it's unbelievable, because I asked him that. I says, why toilet rolls? And this is seemingly any war that breaks out, anything, people buy toilet rolls, because the worst thing you can do is get caught short. Seemingly that's mentally what people affects people. So it just shows you. Right, well, one of the questions was on Wednesday, the 2x2 model, what will the teachers be used to do in the 2x2 model? Obviously, that changes slightly now, because if the teachers are in all day, they'll still have their normal kind of downtime that they get for prep work. Now, will there be additional in-service days with the schools having to revert back? Because I know a lot of the classrooms are now set up for non-play, and obviously the junior school and primary is going to have to go back to a play scenario. So that's obviously, it's taken them weeks to get that into this condition. What now is going to be put in place to allow that? Will there be a blended learning maybe the first week to get started till it goes back to normal, or will it be extra service days?
If I'm really honest, I don't know that, because the information has just come out to us. I think that we'll try and keep families as informed as possible. We've also just put something out to our staff as well, just to say information has just literally come out. We'll try and stick as close as we can to the plan. It was the 12th of August for us, for our children and young people. Maybe slightly adapted, though, you're quite right. Our classes now have, in some instances, fewer desks in them. Obviously, to try to look at between 12 and 14 was the 2 metres. We'll work with our teams over the summer. We've got a lot of council officers as well, but we do stop for summer holidays for our teachers as well. It may be that we need a wee bit of additional time just to try to get that up and going, but we'll get some clarification from the government. What the good news is we get the chance for all young people. If this continues the way it looks as if it's going, we can get our children and young people back full time. Hopefully people then will be a wee bit forgiving of us if it takes maybe a day or so just to get ourselves up and going.
Right, to get it back together again. That obviously leads into how the kids are all going to come back on mass space. So that was my next question. There's not a lot of desks for them. So do you foresee somebody having to go in early, or will there be enough time to turn the desk round when they go back? I know the teachers go back a wee bit early. What is the actual, what have they told you from the Scottish Government? When will be the drop date that you get that you will be back to normal? Will they give you a week's grace, or will they just say, like, 3 days before you're due to start back, right, that number's okay, we go back en masse?
Yeah, I think that comes with the First Minister, and obviously the phasing process of lockdown and the stages. I think that 3-weekly review will give us some degree of indication as well. And I think the Deputy First Minister said that today, that he would base that on the normal information through the science and through what gives it the daily information, if you like. What we'll try to work towards is our working assumption will be that our children and young people come back in August. That's what today seemed to say to us, and the contingency is that if they don't, and we will then plan on both for instances. And you're quite right, we do need to look at how the rooms are structured, how schools have worked to try to do that. But I'm pretty confident that our teachers want our young people back. Yes. So I'm pretty sure that they'll try and push where it's reasonable and where it's possible to try to get them back as quickly and as safely as possible.
I've had conversations with many head teachers regarding away at the start of this. We were involved because I've been booked to do a load of school discos, end of term parties, proms for the leavers dues and things like that. And I have been in contact with a lot of random parents associations, and it's went from very much, we can't do this isn't possible when we go down to 2 meters or 1 meter, we can't do this, to yeah, we're going to make this happen. And I've seen the positivity and the change in the staff and the flexibility has been fantastic. And I think it's got to be mentioned what a great job they've done actually getting these places ready for the 2 metre thing. I know it's probably a great thing that they're not, but there's also a tinge of sadness that the impossible has been made possible through staff. And I think it's been really, really good.
They have been incredible, and right throughout the whole process as well. We've been in touch with lots of our teachers, lots of our support assistants, our early years workers, our team leaders, our janitors, our cleaners. We've obviously been running emergency childcare hubs as well. So a lot of our staff have been in our buildings right since March time, and they've been doing it on a volunteering basis as well. Been delighted at just the level of commitment. It is that magic thing that happens. Our staff grow to love our children and young people, and that's what happens. So they will try to move mountains pretty much in order to make it work, because they do miss them. We've had some of our children and young people, our P1s have been in the past few days in a transition activity, or P7 leavers, and them again as new S1s. And I was in one of our schools last week, and it was magic. It was just that moment where the relationship, a school building isn't the important thing. It's the relationship between the children and our teacher, as we know, that special thing. And you can see staff miss them. And that's why they'll continue to work and do everything they can to try to make that work for those young people coming back. And it has been a big thing for those children, hasn't it? Been away from school life, been away from routine. They've missed it as well. I spoke to some young people and they've missed school life. They might not tell us that always, but they've certainly missed school life as well.
The first couple of weeks, I think it was a bit of a lark and a carry on, and then they realised, and I think it's been, oh my goodness, it's been intense. We've been locked down, but with no kids, it's been really easy. But for the ones with 2 or 3 children, and worse if you've not got a garden, it must have been absolutely horrendous. I mean, the health and the mental health of some of these children as well. You've noticed the sound bites in the last week or so has been mental health. We need to look at. So is that possibly why somebody's taking a decision just to say, right, okay, let's try and get it 100%?
Yeah, I think that has to make a contribution. You also hope, the first thing is you hope that the science and the medical evidence said. Some other countries internationally are ahead of us. Holland, for example, they're back full time at the moment, as our Sweden have not, in terms of their elementary, their primary schools have always been back. Norway and Denmark are further ahead of us. So there's some emerging evidence to say, actually, children and young people, it can be safe as long as you do the personal hygiene things. It does seem to say that it can be safe for them, and that is what we want. But you're quite right. There are other things out there about the impact not being at school has in comparison to young people and the virus itself. Young people are anxious about the virus, but when the young people I spoke with, it wasn't about themselves. It was about, what if I pass it on to someone, a member of their family, their gran, their grandpa. That's what their main consideration was. And we need to reassure the young people, not just about their own mental health, but that they're safe when they come back, that we'll do all of those things to keep them safe. But we do need to look at their well-being. Their well-being is much better when they're socialising with their friends, when they're learning, when they've got some stability and normality to their life. And so let's hope that that's what August now can do for them.
Fantastic. And obviously the report that came out last week that we managed to get hold of as well tells you that under 16s in Scotland, there's been no confirmed cases of it. But how does that go with passing on to teachers? Is there going to be PPE? Obviously, you don't want teachers wearing masks, but are they going to have to protect themselves if they're shielding teachers? Will they now be urged to come back, the shielding teachers? Because this is kind of the isolation is, well, not the isolation, the 2 metre distancing is going to go.
Again, something that we are dealing with just now. We will look at those on an individual basis. Shielding, at the moment, if you're shielding, we don't anticipate that people are coming back into the workplace and the environment. But we would obviously deal with our personnel department, our goods. We will deal with our occupational health teams and to see whether that's safe. And if it's not safe, those members of staff rightly won't come back. Nor indeed a very small number of young people with very severe or underlying health conditions as well. But we would work to try to identify that. For us, you hope that the individual personal hygiene measures, the wash your hands, the hand sanitizer, keep your distance, even as a teacher in these circumstances, although we may be saying young people now, we recognise social distancing. I've seen some evidence, would young people who are under 7 be able to social distance? I would say, were young people under 17 able to social distance? If you've been to the parks recently, it's almost an impossibility. However, most young people can be very sensible in these circumstances, and we will talk to them about doing the sensible things, about washing their hands, about working with their teachers, and we will ask their teachers as well to keep that wee bit of distance. They may be teaching a slightly different way. They'll not be as much shoulder to shoulder, desk to desk with the teacher and the young person, but that will just be so that we can gain some confidence, and that we would always want to make sure that everybody was safe.
Fantastic. Has there been any kickback from unions yet? Have they approached or gave out their standard letter? Or are they quite happy with it?
They have been part of the decision making process with us, and that's not just glib words. And they've been really phenomenal in how they've worked with us in the past 3 or 4 months. Anything that we've done around risk assessment, because obviously we put risk assessments in place for our hubs, for our staff coming back. We've had children in our buildings. We had 900 children in our buildings last week through hub activity, and also through a number of the P1s coming in. Our unions have been really good. They rightly want to look at how safe are we for everybody. That's our starting point. None of us are going to gripe with that. If that's all of our starting points around safety of children and young people and staff, then we're going to agree with more things than we disagree. And they've been very helpful. They've worked really hard with us, and actually they've asked tough questions and challenging questions, as they rightly should. This is about making sure that we're all assured of something that causes significant levels of anxiety. And as you can see, you can understand when you've seen in the past few weeks the impact something like the virus can have on individuals. They get the right to ask those questions.
So it's been an all-agency kind of
involved. Maybe the other thing as well for us, that it's not just staff within education. Of course, we rely on our housing and technical services team. They look after our buildings, so the water test, the electricity test for getting the schools back up and going. Our community and enterprise teams. Schools can't run with janitors and cleaners, can they? I mean, they just can't. They are amazing people, and not only are they the janitors and cleaners and the catering staff, they know the children well. They live in those communities of those children, so they know them. They know them well. So we've worked really closely. Again, reassuring everybody, what are our kitchens like? How safe are our kitchens? What's it like for our janitorial staff? How, what's the cleaning spec and the safety of our cleaners? That every member of staff and every young person that goes into that building, we need to consider.
And living with one of them, I know they think they run the school with fear, so you better make sure. I'll tell you. We touched on the children and the kind of mental health thing that we're talking about, and the parents as well, I suppose. Do you think there will be an uptake and a rise in referrals for this kind of thing when they go back? Do you think there will be some kids with issues that need maybe a wee bit of additional help to get out of this?
I think it's possible. We work with our psychological services team, and they've been good we've tried to identify our vulnerable children and young people even throughout this period of time. We've had a helpline available where families can phone into our psychological services. I do think there'll be a wee bit of an upturn in some of it. I also think as well, our children and young people can be more resilient than we think as well. I don't think it will all be doom and gloom. I think for some of those young people, we hope that they'll get straight back into it. Some of the international evidence on that, I saw something from Scandinavia in which they put a whole series of services in place. But actually the biggest thing, the most important thing was getting those children back together again. It was almost because they managed to get them back together, they were able to look forward and not look back. However, there is no doubt that for some young people, this would have been really tough. If you just think of some very challenging circumstances about whether it be limited resources or some degree of really challenge in their house, this will be emotionally difficult for some children and young people. So we want to focus on their well-being when we come back. Not just their literacy and numeracy, we need the foundation of focusing on their well-being.
Will they start back? Will there be a lot of kind of health and well-being lesson type assessments being done maybe the first week or so before they actually go back into the maths, English? Will that be a kind of blanket across the school to be common sense to make sure everybody's okay?
Yeah. Again, it's probably two ways, because in some ways by getting into some degree of normality, that takes care of some of your well-being by getting into that routine. But definitely the discussions around the well-being of young people, the health and well-being, how are they feeling, their interaction, because obviously their levels of anxiety, I'm talking about the routine, but the routine has changed. Their their anxiety about being in, if you're in a high school and there are 1,500 young people, they've not been in that environment for a while, so that can add some anxiety to them. So definitely we will focus, their class teachers will focus, and we hope, because they know them and they certainly get to know them quickly, that those young people are able to speak to them, or they know where to go. Also is an important thing for those young people. If they're struggling a wee bit, which teacher can I speak to? Which adult in the school will listen to me, and will they be able to get me further support if need be?
Fantastic. No, I thought there will be additional. I'd imagine a lot of kids are unsure, but as you say, getting back to normal, that wee bubble of friends, it's kind of respite away from the home life, isn't it? They back on, and it kind of charge your batteries and heal yourself. What about South Lanarkshire? Do you use a mentoring process at all? I always mind years ago, I was asked to be a mentor for some of the kids because I work for myself and that kind of thing, and we did a wee bit, and I do a lot of the work experience stuff. Do you have a kind of active mentoring scheme for kind of the older kids and that now as well?
Yeah, we do. We do 3 or 4 versions of that. We work with MCR Pathways in a number of our schools. I know that's a mentoring programme for young people from 3rd year up. So a number of our secondary schools are involved in that for the very reasons that you've described. It's a great thing to do. It's not a teacher. It can often be quite nice. It's a different voice and it's a different person who comes into the school. So they've continued to work closely. We also have some other slightly different mentoring programmes across some of our other schools. So mentoring does play an important role, and I think that's where you get the benefit of, for the young person, just listening to somebody different, isn't it? Or a bit of wisdom just to point them in the right direction.
Definitely. Huge, absolutely huge. And I came out with a couple of certificates for school, low grades, that was it, and I had to go to night school to do what I wanted to do because I messed about there. I was going to be a football player, so and that never worked out for me. So it's amazing, just if somebody, maybe these mistakes I've made, it's free, enjoy it, make the most of it, and come out with something at the end of it. It's fantastic, And
and we spend a lot of time talking to young people about no wrong path. That notion that it may take them a wee bit longer. You hope the first thing is that they find the thing they love and they're interested in, and then they understand, if I work hard or I get some qualifications, that will be the thing that will make me the engineer or the footballer. But it's never as straightforward as that for many of them. And ultimately, if it takes them a wee bit longer or they don't do quite as well, I think there's a reassurance, from people, as you say, like yourself, who've actually maybe not just gone and straight away found what they were interested in. It's maybe taken a bit more of a route in. I think schools are much better placed to understand it's not always about get your qualification straight onto university, get into a job. It might be a slightly different route.
No, it's definitely, it seems much more, even the boys have had out work experience, it seems much more fun loving now, to be honest.
Yeah.
They seem to enjoy their school, which is total change when we were younger. What about school meals? What are we going to do with them? Because obviously, are we going to kind of stagger them a bit more? Are you going to try and keep people apart a bit more?
Yeah, I think that will be one of the practical changes that you will see. Primary schools already will do that. They will have, the P1s coming along, certainly at the beginning of term. And my daughter's a P1 teacher, and she often tells me it probably takes her about half an hour to get them along, to get them into a routine, to get them sitting down. So primary schools are used to that, but you'll see more formality that goes along with it. I do think there will be a sense of that's just about being smart and limiting numbers of people in spaces, because although the schools will be safe to go back, there is no doubt that those personal hygiene measures make a difference. And that's why we will look at that. From a secondary point of view, again, we run pre-ordering services and we have an app. We try to encourage young people to use those. And also, I think young people then don't just flood out into the community. We again look at secondary level. It's some degree of restriction for some of our younger pupils, our first years just coming in. Many of our secondaries say, listen, that's not appropriate in the first instance. But we also try to encourage others where possible. I would say if they can adapt their lunch times of schools, by 10 and 15 minutes, and allowing different year groups so that they're not queuing. If you ask a young person in a secondary school, it's often that they don't like to stand in a big queue. So if you can have a pre-ordering service, if young people can bring, we can involve them bringing a packed lunch. Those are the things that we need to try to work on. I do think that's some of the practical things you'll see.
It's obviously beneficial to keep the children in the school for lunches, as in traipsing outside schools, and again, possible contaminations, and get into shops altogether and mix with members of the public in shops like they do at chip shops and things like that. Is there any plans to change the menu, maybe make it a wee bit more radicalised for these kids, to make it a bit more exciting for the secondary kids, what they like nowadays?
Yeah, I hope so as well. And again, just we do our catering team, and they do menu testing with the young people themselves. Sometimes young people leaving school grounds at lunchtime. For me, I wanted to keep as many in as possible, but I understood for some of them it was about getting out their surroundings a wee bit. I often spent my time when I was in Cathkin High as a deputy head teacher, and also when I was head teacher, out and about, making sure those young people behaved responsibly. It's always a challenge for us. I remember a story of I often supervised the chip shop at lunchtime just to make sure that young people were respectful. They were very good, the young people, but quite often if they're by themselves, they might not always make the right decisions. As we know, they drop the litter or something along those lines. And somebody phoning the school looking for me at lunchtime, a member of the community, a member of the office saying he's actually at the chip shop at the moment, and it was followed by, it's lucky he can be at the chip shop at lunchtime. I think the person had thought I was at the chip shop, standing here waiting for my lunch. So I think that schools try to have a visible presence at lunchtime, their senior managers. And while they may not be able to restrict everybody, and actually for 16 and 17-year-olds who are young adults, I think we want to try and treat them as young adults and try to talk to them about levels of responsibility.
Definitely. Now, a big thing, what we're doing just now, what I do with Radio Lollipop, we spoke to people all around the world on Radio Lollipop. We normally meet up once, twice a year. We've been doing it every couple of weeks. Zooming, Google Classrooms, etc. There is a lot of good in that. I can see a huge benefit for that, probably for older children. Do you think there'll be a more kind of online themed learning for kind of standard grade, higher pupils, that sort of thing, in time to come?
Well, we've now just seen scratch the surface of its potential, haven't we? Whether that be in businesses or whether that be within your own families, it's definitely scratching the surface from an education point of view as well. We have been trialling something before this, but you've now seen the explosion of it. You've now seen the ability to do it quickly, the ability to have some interaction with some children and young people. So, for example, we would always want teachers involved in this directly, but if you're in a senior school and you have a very small number of pupils who are wanting to sit, I don't know, advanced higher modern studies, and you've only got 3 of them, and you can't run the course, well, here's an opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
In which you can team up with some other schools and definitely have some teacher input as well to those young people from the school, but they don't always need 6 periods of a teacher to teach them advanced higher, because we can do some of the interactive things that we're doing just now. And I think that will really help the learning process. And also for young people, we're encouraging them to get on to use digital. It's not always the answer. We sometimes need them to put the laptops away and their phones away so that they can get away from technology, but there is an inherent good that can come from this just now, and we can really look at engaging with them.
I also think it's a good middle step to when you actually leave school. If you don't do the college and you go straight to university, possibly that year or the following year, you're very much left alone at university. It's not like the teacher over you giving you the praise and feeding back all the time. You've got to kind of self-motivate yourself. I was never at university, but so they tell me, the university ones I know, my daughter, etc. Some of the ones I know, so one of the boys I know I play football with at 5-a-side, he was probably you'll know him, I won't mention him because he does listen to this. He was probably one of the best guys ever. He never studied for anything. He was absolutely fantastic. He struggled at university because he wasn't getting immediate feedback. And I think this kind of maybe is that middle step to having a wee bit more responsibility for your own learning.
It's a brilliant point. I spoke to some other young people, and I was asking them, some primary 7s, and I was asking them about what are the things that they've quite liked. And just what you've said there, several of them said to me, the ability to plan my own learning. I can decide during the course of the day the order of my learning.
Yeah.
I can decide whether I'm going to do literacy first, or I'm going to do my numeracy, or I'm going to do my topic. And that was some of our primary 7s saying, and I think that fundamentally changes learning. Of course, you still need the teacher there saying the knowledge bit, here's the things that we need to cover. But giving young people responsibility for their learning is a good thing. And this does facilitate that, doesn't it? And it just shows you the potential that it has.
Well, look at European University. It's been going for donkey's years, and it's a fantastic, successful thing for people. They do it in their own time, really good. What about obviously the attainment gap's a huge thing in education. That's going to have taken a hammering, I'd imagine, with this. Is there plans in place to try and kind of fast track and put in place maybe additional classwork and things like that, maybe additional things to try and catch people up that were needing a wee bit of help?
Yeah, I saw that announced today from the Deputy First Minister, and we've certainly been talking about it. That is your worry. There is no doubt about it that sits with you. It will be fine for those young people that have been engaging with the process and their families have supported them. I believe those young people will accelerate past where they're going to be. Their learning will continue. They'll step up. For those young people that have not, for whatever the circumstance, then that does worry me. I think we all have to be honest about that. The implications for some of those young people. What you don't want is a lost generation of some of those young people. It's difficult enough for some young people because they may not have had that traditional support or for whatever reason in their family life. And then suddenly they're even further behind because you've missed the schooling bit for 3 months. And I think that we will look at some degree of catch-up activity. We will look at what technology do they have. We're trying to, for us as a council, look to try and provide even devices for some of those young people. We've given out and let them borrow some devices, but we're thinking about giving them more permanently just now as well. That's those young people that are from backgrounds of poverty and deprivation particularly, that have no technology or no access to Wi-Fi or data. And it's okay us talking about blended learning, but if they don't have any access to that, then that really is a huge barrier to them.
Is Wi-Fi broadband being provided for families like that? Is there a scheme on?
Yeah. Yeah. We're about to finalise it as well, and it's to within the thousands to give out. There's a device that we will use called a MiFi, and that allows data, and it will give us a year's contract of data. Because there's no point in giving somebody a device if they simply don't have the ability to get into Glow or to get into Google. That's self-defeating for us. We're looking at in the instances where there is nothing for those young people, and there's a number of those young people. We've done that exercise, and we're working just now to make sure that they have that for August as well. We've given some out already, but this is just a second part of that.
Do you have any idea of the kind of numbers of people that don't have access to broadbands?
Yeah, I probably can tell you exactly the numbers. I don't have them with me, but in the first instance, we're looking at giving out about 1,500 devices in the next round.
Many have you got overall secondary and primary in?
Yeah, so we've got 45,000, just about 47,000 rather, 24,000 in primary and 23,000 in secondary. So we've done the exercise. We asked our schools to contact families. It wasn't if you don't have anything, or you had a limited number. It's also quite complicated because if you think about it, if you're asking mum and dad to work from home and they need a mobile device, they need a device, and you're asking for the learning to take place as well, suddenly there becomes a tension around who has the learning and who has the iPad or the Chromebook, and trying to make sure. So hopefully now that it looks as if the young people are coming back full time, that pressure might go away. But we do need to remember, as the Deputy First Minister said, things can change. Yeah. We will maybe get back into a contingency. I hope not. But we do need to make sure that these steps are taken for a contingency arrangement as well.
Having come through the planning for the 2 metres, I think your staff will be in a great position to do that. And I think if it does come back, then hopefully it won't. But I think it'll be able to just kick on the way it's been. They seem to be well in tow with it now. They've done well. Done excellent. Right, your placement requests. I get 2 or 3 messages about this. The appeals that have been put in place for this, obviously it may change slightly with all kids being back in school, that kind of idea. Is there the challenges and the uncertainties that lie ahead? Is there any word back on the appeals process for placements? Yeah,
this has been, again, some of the things we've had to grapple with as a local authority. The law changed. Normally when a family put in an appeal for a placement request, placement requests are obviously that notion of the child going to the school out with their catchment. And if for us, we say for the circumstances, it might mean that we put in an extra teacher, or or the building is not big enough in some instances as well. But families correctly have the right of an appeal. And that appeal is not organised by education, it's organised by our central admin teams, because it involves elected members and members of the community. It's run properly through our legal services team as well. But the law has changed to do with COVID. And instead of it being held within 28 days, it's to be held within 3 months. It would normally have been finished just about by now. But if you think about it, physical distancing, an appeals process is normally people coming in.
Right.
They normally sit as a panel, they present their case, and trying to finalise how this is done legally has been a bit of a challenge for us. Without going into the technical details of that, somebody can be in a telephone conversation. If somebody has the ability to write in, we need to be able to write back to them, and they can ask us for further clarification. So it takes time.
Right.
That whole process takes a significant period of time. We're not trying to be, slowing the process up. It's just, it is a legal process for us, and like everything, even I'm aware of Sheriff Court trials taking much longer now because we're involved in a legal process. For us, trying to make sure that it's right, done properly. But I do see that the process is now in place, and that for families, letters were going out about what's your preferred option. Is it telephone? Is it through Teams or Zoom? Or is it coming in through a socially distanced way? And they'll be done as quickly as we can. The technical part of that, though, is I'm not sure if they'll all be done during the summer period. And I think that people would need to, and for the small number of families, we need to be aware of that as well.
It's due to the circumstances of COVID. It's just one of these things.
Yeah.
I'll need to last minute. Or maybe John Swinney will just announce it tomorrow. You don't know. That seems to be the way they do it. Right, I think that's really just about everything, Tony, that we had. I mean, the old questions that we're going to cover are kind of out the window now. I think you've shown us there's a new way forward. There's a plan in place to catch up the kids. There's a plan in place for anybody that's maybe undue mental health issues, things like that are coming back from this. So I would say it's been fantastic. I would just like to thank yourself and all your teachers and staff for the job they've done. It's not been ideal. It's been unheard of. There's been mistakes made by everybody in life in this, and I think your guys, and it has shown the love that the teachers have for their children. And I've watched on Twitter a lot of the kids, the primary ones, coming in and seeing it and having great times, all socially distanced with a parent, and the first years getting piped out for places and things like that as well. Under the circumstances, you've worked so hard to try and the primary sevens getting piped out. You've tried so hard to make it a time to remember for everybody, and I'd just like to thank you on behalf of all parents everywhere for what you guys have done. I think it's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, and hugely appreciated as well. We're particularly conscious the impact that not for our children and young people not being at school. We want normality for them. We want them to be safe, but we want normality as quickly as possible for them. We do want them in, thriving. School is a good place. School is a great place for our children and young people to be, but we want to make sure that's done properly. That we're not underestimating the significance of what personal safety and hygiene is for those young people. But at the same time, you're right, we want them back. Our teachers want them back. We all want some degree of normality for those children and young people. They deserve it.